of Karos had no sky anymore. What once passed for an atmosphere was now a thin veil of dust and fire, torn apart by explosions and falling debris. The surface was cracked open like broken glass, glowing red in some places where deep heat bled through. Wrecked alien war machines burned slowly, their metal frames twisted and half-melted. The battle was over, but the silence that followed felt heavy, as if the moon itself was holding its breath. Human strike teams moved quickly across the ruins, their armored boots crunching over shattered stone and alien metal. They checked for survivors, marked targets, and followed orders without hesitation. This was a clean mission. The alien stronghold had fallen faster than expected. Human command would be pleased. Among the fallen, an alien warrior lay trapped. His armor, once polished and terrifying, was cracked open along the chest and shoulder. Thick, dark blood seeped from beneath the plates, soaking into the dust. A massive piece of collapsed structure pinned his lower body, crushing one of his legs beyond saving. Every breath burned. Every movement sent waves of pain through his body. He was an elite warrior of the Varkeen Dominion, trained since childhood for war. He had slaughtered enemies across many systems. He had never begged. He had never surrendered. Now, he waited to die. Through blurred vision, he watched human soldiers move past him. They were efficient, cold, and fast. Their faces were hidden behind visors, their weapons always ready. They did not slow for the wounded. They did not stop for the fallen. That was expected. Mercy had no place in war. The alien clenched his jaw and forced himself to remain silent. To beg would shame his lineage. Better to die as a warrior than live as a coward. A sharp voice echoed through the human comms. All units prepare for immediate extraction. Structural collapse confirmed. You have 3 minutes. Repeat, 3 minutes. The alien felt relief mixed with fear. Relief that death would come soon. Fear because part of him, small and unwanted, still wished to live. Boots stopped near him. The alien opened one eye. A human stood there, alone. He was smaller than most of the others, his armor scratched and scorched from the fight. His weapon was lowered, not aimed. He looked down at the trapped alien, his posture tense, as if weighing something. The alien warrior felt anger rise. If this human had come to finish him, then so be it. He would face death with open eyes. The human did not shoot. Instead, he crouched. "You're hurt bad," the human said through a translator unit. His voice was calm, almost quiet. The alien stared at him in disbelief. No threat, no insult, just a statement of fact. "Leave," the alien growled weakly. "Finish your victory." The human glanced around, checking the unstable ruins. Distant rumbles shook the ground. "I can't leave you like this," the human said. The alien let out a harsh laugh that turned into a cough. Blood spilled from his mouth. "Humans do not leave enemies alive," the alien said. "I know your kind." The human shook his head slightly. "You don't know us as well as you think." The ground trembled again, harder this time. Pieces of stone fell from above. Time was running out. The alien's pride finally broke under the weight of pain and fear. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Please," he said, "if you will not save me, then make it quick." The word tasted like poison. The human froze. For a moment the battlefield noise faded, replaced by the sound of the human's breathing. Then the human moved closer, placing both hands on the heavy metal beam, pinning the alien's leg. "This is going to hurt," he said. The alien's eyes widened. "What are you doing?" "Staying," the human replied. With a strange shout, the human activated his suit's strength assist and lifted. The beam shifted slightly, enough to free part of the alien's crushed leg. Pain exploded through the alien's body, and he screamed despite himself. Warning alarms screamed inside the human's helmet. "Extraction in 90 seconds, command barked. "Whoever is still on the surface, move now." The human ignored it. He worked fast, cutting damaged armor away, applying sealing foam to slow the bleeding. His movements were practiced, not careless. He had done this before. On humans. "Why?" the alien gasped. "I have killed your people." The human did not stop. "So have I," he said quietly. "That doesn't mean I let you die when I can help." The alien did not understand. His entire life had been built on strength through dominance. Mercy was something prey begged for, not something warriors gave. The ground shook violently. A distant explosion lit the horizon. "Last call," Command shouted. "The moon is breaking apart." The human finished securing a crude splint around what remained of the alien's leg. He attached a small hover stretcher from his pack, activating it with a flick of his wrist. "Can you stay conscious?" the human asked. The alien nodded slowly, stunned beyond words. They moved together into a narrow tunnel formed by collapsed structures, the human guiding the floating stretcher through tight spaces. Dust filled the air, choking and thick. The moon groaned like a dying animal. Behind them, the battlefield disappeared in fire. As they descended deeper, the alien's mind raced. Every lesson he had learned told him this was impossible. Humans were supposed to be monsters, savage, ruthless. That was what the Dominion had said. Yet here he was, alive only because a human had chosen to stay behind. "You will die," the alien said suddenly. "If you stay with me, you will not escape." The human did not look back. "Maybe," he said. "But I've made worse choices for less." The tunnel collapsed partially ahead, blocking their path. The human stopped, breathing hard. The alien felt a surge of guilt, unfamiliar and heavy. "Leave me," he said again. "You have done enough." The human turned, eyes visible through his visor now. They were tired, but steady. "No," he said. "I don't leave people behind. People." The word struck the alien harder than any weapon. Another violent tremor shook the moon. Rocks fell around them. Time was almost gone. Somewhere above, human ships lifted off, escaping the dying moon. Sensors would already mark this area as lost. The alien warrior feared across the stars, closed his eyes for a moment. For the first time in his life he prayed, not for victory, but for the strange human who had chosen mercy over survival. And deep inside the collapsing moon of Karos, one human and one alien waited together, bound by a choice that would change the course of a war. The tunnel did not collapse all at once. It came down in pieces, slow and cruel. Dust filled the air, thick enough to burn the lungs. The light from the human's armor flickered as stones crashed from above. The hover stretcher shook, its stabilizers whining under the strain. The alien warrior struggled to stay conscious. Pain pulsed through his body with every heartbeat. His vision blurred, then sharpened, then blurred again. He focused on the sound of the human's boots and the steady pull of the stretcher. That sound meant he was still alive. The human stopped suddenly. Ahead of them, the tunnel had split into two narrow paths. One was slanted upward, unstable but leading closer to the surface. The other dropped deeper into the moon, dark and unknown. The human checked his wrist display. The signal from orbit was gone. No comms, no guidance. "Great," he muttered. The alien forced himself to speak. "If you go up, you may still escape." The human looked at the rising tunnel, then back at the alien. His jaw tightened. "And leave you to die," he said. "That's not happening." "You will die too," the alien replied weakly. "This moon is breaking apart. The human exhaled slowly, then turned the stretcher toward the deeper path. Then we don't go up. They moved downward. The alien felt fear coil inside him. His people taught that only fools move deeper into danger. Survival meant choosing strength, choosing self. Yet this human walked calmly into the dark, choosing the one path that offered no clear escape. The tunnel widened slightly as they descended. Strange alien markings glowed faintly on the walls, symbols of the old mining structures buried deep beneath the battlefield. The ground here felt more stable, though distant tremors still rolled through the stone. The human finally stopped near a reinforced chamber, half collapsed but solid enough to offer shelter. He knelt beside the stretcher, checking the alien's wounds again. The ceiling foam was holding, but the alien's breathing was shallow and uneven. "You're losing too much blood," the human said quietly. The alien laughed weakly. "That is what happens when legs are crushed." The human reached into his medical pack, hesitating for just a moment before pulling out a small injector. "This is human grade," he said. "It might not react well with your biology." The alien studied the injector, then met the human's gaze. "Do it." The human injected the dose into the alien's upper limb. A cold burn spread through the alien's veins, followed by a strange warmth. His breathing slowed. The pain dulled, though it did not disappear. "Why?" the alien asked again, his voice steadier now. "Why do you do this?" The human sat back against the wall, helmet resting against the stone. For a long moment he did not answer. "Because I know what it's like to be left," he said finally. The alien listened. "I was on a mission like this once," the human continued. "Different planet, same chaos. We were ordered to pull out. One of my squad was pinned, just like you. Command said we didn't have time." The human's hands curled into fists. "I followed orders." The alien felt something twist inside his chest. "He didn't make it," the human said. "I promised myself I'd never do that again." Silence settled between them, broken only by distant rumbles of the moon tearing itself apart. The alien looked away. In the Dominion, such hesitation would be punished. Mercy was a weakness. Yet this human carried regret like a wound, and still chose to act differently. Time passed strangely underground. Minutes stretched into hours. The tremors became less frequent but more violent when they came. The alien's strength slowly returned, enough that he could lift his head without blacking out. He studied the human more closely now. The scratches on the armor, the worn edges of the gloves, the faint tremor in the human's hands when he thought the alien was asleep. "You are afraid," the alien said. The human gave a small smile. "Yeah, I am. Then why stay?" "Because fear doesn't decide who I am," the human replied. The alien had no answer to that. A sudden sound echoed through the tunnel ahead. Footsteps, heavy, metallic. The human froze, instantly alert. He raised his weapon, pulling the alien stretcher slightly behind a broken support pillar. Alien voices echoed faintly, distorted by the rock. "Search units." The Dominion had not fully withdrawn. They were hunting survivors. The alien warrior felt a surge of shame. His people were coming. They would kill the human without hesitation. Worse, they would punish the alien for surviving through enemy mercy. "Leave," the alien whispered urgently. "Now. They are mine." The human shook his head slowly. Not anymore. The footsteps grew closer. Lights flickered against the tunnel walls. The alien's heart pounded. "They will torture you for information." The human adjusted his grip on the weapon. "Then they'll be disappointed." 3 alien soldiers appeared at the far end of the chamber, armored and armed, their weapons scanning the shadows. They froze when they saw the human. Then they saw the wounded alien on the stretcher. Shock rippled through them. "Commander?" one of them said in disbelief. The alien commander closed his eyes. The human stepped forward slightly, placing himself between the alien and the soldiers. "He's under my protection," the human said calmly. The alien soldiers hesitated. Their training screamed to fire, but confusion slowed them. This was not how war was supposed to look. The commander forced himself to speak. "Stand down," he ordered weakly. "Leave." The soldiers stared at him. "You are wounded. You are captured." "No," the commander said. "I am alive." The tunnel shook violently, cutting off any further argument. Rocks crashed down between the two groups, sealing the passage with a thunderous roar. The alien soldiers were gone. The human lowered his weapon, breathing hard. The commander stared at the collapsed tunnel, then at the human. "You protected me from my own kind." The human shrugged. "Didn't feel right letting them take you." The commander closed his eyes, overwhelmed. Everything he believed was breaking apart, just like the moon above them. Hours later, faint vibrations hummed through the stone. Not explosions, engines. The human's eyes widened. "That's not the moon," he said. A deep, mechanical sound echoed closer, rhythmic and powerful. Drilling. Rescue. The human activated a flare beacon, firing it upward through a narrow crack in the ceiling. Moments later, a response signal blinked on his display. "They're looking for survivors," the human said softly. The alien commander felt something unfamiliar rise in his chest. Hope. The drilling grew louder until light burst through the ceiling. Human rescue units broke through, pulling debris aside. Voices shouted, "We've got 2! Repeat, 2 survivors!" Strong hands lifted the alien stretcher, securing it carefully. The human was pulled up next, coughing but smiling in relief. As they were carried toward the rescue transport, the alien commander turned his head toward the human. "You should have left me," he said quietly. The human met his gaze. "Maybe," he replied. "But then I wouldn't be able to look at myself." The rescue craft lifted away from the dying moon just as massive fractures split its surface apart. Fire and dust consumed Karos, erasing the battlefield forever. Inside the transport, medics worked quickly. The alien commander watched the human from across the compartment, surrounded by enemies, yet treated with care. No chains, no cruelty. For the first time, he understood. Humans did not fight because they loved war. They fought because they chose who to protect, and that choice, made in the dark beneath a broken moon, would not remain a secret for long. The medical bay was quiet in a way the alien commander had never experienced before. There were no chains biting into his limbs, no energy fields holding him in place, no guards shouting orders or striking him for moving too slowly. Soft white lights filled the room, steady and calm. Machines hummed gently as they monitored his vital signs. Human medics moved around him with focused care, speaking in low voices. He lay on a reinforced bed, his damaged leg suspended in a field of blue light. The pain was still there, deep and heavy, but it no longer felt like it would consume him. Every breath came easier than the last. Across the room, on another bed, the human lay resting. His armor had been removed, revealing simple clothing beneath. Bandages wrapped his arm and side. He looked smaller without the armor, more fragile, yet somehow stronger in the alien's eyes. The alien commander turned his head slowly, studying him. This was the human who had stayed behind. A medic noticed the alien was awake and stepped closer. "Try not to move," she said gently. "Your body is still adjusting." The translator rendered her words smoothly. "Why am I not restrained?" the alien asked. The medic paused, then gave a small shrug. "Because you haven't tried to hurt anyone?" That answer unsettled him more than any threat could have. Time passed in slow waves. The alien drifted in and out of sleep, memories mixing with reality. Faces of fallen warriors haunted his dreams. Orders he had given, cities burned, humans screaming under Dominion fire. Each time he woke, the human was still there. Eventually, the human stirred, groaning softly as he sat up. He noticed the alien watching him and gave a tired smile. "Hey," he said, "looks like we both made it." The alien's voice came rough. "You should not be alive." The human chuckled weakly. "Yeah, I get that a lot." Silence followed, heavy but not hostile. "You lied to your command," the alien said after a moment. The human raised an eyebrow. "What makes you say that?" "They ordered evacuation," the alien replied. "You disobeyed." The human nodded slowly. "I did. In my people's forces, that is punishable by death." "In ours," the human said, "it depends on the reason." The alien processed that. "And? Your reason?" The human met his gaze without hesitation. "I wasn't going to let you die." The alien looked away, unsettled by the certainty in the human's voice. Later, officials arrived. They were different from soldiers. Their uniforms were clean, their expressions measured. They asked questions, recorded statements, and observed carefully. The alien expected accusations, interrogation, perhaps punishment. Instead, they listened. The human told the story first. He spoke plainly, without exaggeration. He admitted disobeying orders. He admitted risking the mission's clean exit. He did not try to justify himself beyond simple truth. "I made a choice," he said. "I'd make it again." The officials exchanged glances but said nothing. Then they turned to the alien. "You are an enemy commander," one of them said calmly. "You are not required to speak." The alien hesitated. For most of his life, silence had been a weapon. Information was power, but something inside him had shifted. "I will speak," he said. He told them about the Dominion's teachings, about how humans were described as beasts, incapable of mercy, about how surrender was considered a disgrace worse than death. He told them about the battlefield, the beam crushing his leg, and the human who crouched instead of firing. As he spoke, the room grew very still. "This human saved me," the alien said. "Not because I was useful. Not because it helped him. He did it because he chose to." One of the officials leaned forward. "And what does that mean to you?" The alien struggled for words. "It means everything I was taught was incomplete." The officials left soon after. The days that followed were strange. The alien commander was moved to a secure but comfortable medical wing. Human doctors worked tirelessly to stabilize him. They saved his life, though his leg could not be fully restored. He would walk again, but never as he once had. No one mocked him for that. The human visited often. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they sat in silence. "You're going to be transferred soon," the human said one day. "High Command wants to decide what to do with you." The alien nodded. "Execution?" The human frowned. "That's not how we do things. You are at war with my people." "Yeah," the human admitted, "but war isn't the same as hate." That idea lingered in the alien's mind long after the human left. Soon, the transport came. The alien was moved aboard a larger human vessel, one designed not for battle, but for diplomacy. The corridors were wide, open, and bright. Humans walked freely, unarmed, speaking casually even in the presence of an enemy commander. He felt exposed, vulnerable. He also felt trusted. In a chamber overlooking the stars, the alien stood before human leaders and observers from neutral systems. Holographic displays glowed softly around them. They asked him to speak again. This time his words were broadcast. Across multiple systems, Across stations and fleets, the image of a wounded alien commander filled screens. His armor was gone. His weapons were gone, but his voice was steady. He spoke of the battle, of the mercy shown, of the human who stayed behind. "This war," he said, "has been built on lies. I was told humans would never spare us, that they were cruel by nature, that surrender meant torture and death." He paused, letting the silence stretch. I was wrong. Murmurs spread through the observers. I am alive because a human disobeyed orders to save an enemy, not for reward, not for power, but because he believed it was right. The broadcast ended. The reaction was immediate. Dominion channels erupted in outrage. Some called the alien a traitor. Others demanded his execution. But there were cracks, warriors questioning what they had been taught, civilians wondering why an enemy commander was still alive. The Dominion had never faced this before. Inside the human ship, the alien sat alone, staring out at the stars. He felt fear, not for himself, but for what came next. The human entered quietly. That was brave, the human said. The alien did not turn. It may cost me everything. The human nodded. Yeah, standing up usually does. Why are you still kind to me? The alien asked. Even now, the human leaned against the wall. Because you're trying to do better. The alien finally looked at him. If I return to my people, they may kill me. Maybe, the human said, but they might also listen. The alien considered that. Days later, a message arrived from the Dominion. They demanded the alien's return. Human leadership debated fiercely. Some argued he was too dangerous. Others believed his voice could end the war. In the end, a decision was made. The alien would return, not as a prisoner, but as an envoy. The human escorted him to the launch bay. You don't have to go, the human said quietly. The alien straightened, leaning slightly on his support brace. If I do not, then your mercy means nothing. The human extended his hand. The alien hesitated only a moment before grasping it. Their hands were different in shape, in texture, in temperature, yet the grip was firm and equal. Whatever happens, the human said, I don't regret staying behind. The alien nodded. Neither do I. As the shuttle departed, carrying the alien commander back toward uncertain fate, the human watched until it vanished into the stars. Far away in Dominion space, the arrival of a wounded commander escorted by human ships sent shockwaves through the hierarchy. Questions spread. Doubt followed. And somewhere deep within the Dominion, the idea took root that humans were not the monsters they had been made out to be. They were something far more dangerous. They were merciful by choice. The Dominion capital world was built to intimidate. Massive towers of dark metal rose into the sky, sharp and angular, casting long shadows over endless plazas. War banners floated between buildings, each one marked with symbols of conquest and strength. For generations, this world had known only one truth: power ruled all. When the alien commander's shuttle entered the atmosphere, every sensor tracked it. Every defense system locked on. News spread faster than the ship could descend. He had returned, wounded and escorted by humans. The shuttle landed in a guarded zone, far from the civilian districts. Elite Dominion soldiers surrounded it. The moment the hatch opened, weapons raised, eyes burning with suspicion. The commander stepped out slowly, leaning on his support brace. His movements were careful, controlled. He kept his head high. Behind him, the human escort remained inside their own vessel. They had honored the agreement. No human foot touched Dominion ground. The soldiers closed in. You surrendered to the enemy, one of them hissed. I survived, the commander replied calmly. They dragged him forward, ignoring his injury, pulling him through corridors he once walked with pride. Whispers followed him everywhere. Traitor, coward, broken. He was brought before the High War Council, a circle of towering figures seated above him on raised platforms. Their armor was ceremonial but deadly. Their eyes held no mercy. You were defeated, the highest counselor said. You begged a human for mercy. The commander did not deny it. I asked not to suffer. Laughter echoed through the chamber. And you were spared, another counselor said. That alone proves your weakness. The commander clenched his jaw. This was the moment that would decide everything. I was spared, he said, because a human chose mercy over victory. Silence fell. The counselor leaned forward. Mercy is a lie told by the weak. The commander lifted his head. Then explain why I still live. Murmurs spread through the chamber. They could have left me, he continued. They could have killed me and been praised. Instead, one human disobeyed orders and stayed behind. Lies, a counselor snapped. Humans are deceivers. Then allow me to prove it, the commander said. At his signal, Dominion technicians activated a projection. The chamber filled with recorded footage. The battlefield on Karos, the collapsing tunnel, the human lifting the beam, applying medical aid shielding the commander from Dominion soldiers. The footage was raw. Unedited. Impossible to deny. Shock rippled through the council. That human risked death, the commander said, not for gain, not for honor, but because he refused to abandon an enemy. One counselor stood abruptly. Enough! This changes nothing. Mercy does not win wars. The commander took a slow breath. And yet, this war is not being won. That struck deep. Our fleets are stretched, he continued. Our warriors are dying in numbers that cannot be replaced, and we are fighting a species that chooses who to protect. The counselors shifted uncomfortably. Humans do not fight for conquest, the commander said. They fight for each other. That makes them dangerous in a way we did not understand. The chamber erupted into argument. Voices overlapped, shouting condemnation and doubt. Some demanded execution, others demanded silence. Then, something unexpected happened. A junior counselor spoke up. If what he says is true, she said carefully, then killing him proves the human's right. The room froze. The highest counselor turned slowly. Explain. If humans show mercy, she continued, and we answer it with execution, then we confirm every fear they have of us. The idea hung in the air, heavy and uncomfortable. The commander felt a flicker of hope. After hours of debate, a verdict was reached. The commander would live, but he would be stripped of rank, watched, silenced, or so they thought. Outside the council chamber, the commander was escorted to a restricted residence. No chains, no cell, but constant surveillance. Days passed. Messages from the front lines grew worse. Human forces adapted faster than expected. Dominion fleets hesitated, commanders unsure how to respond to a species that spared enemies. Doubt spread among the warriors. Whispers became conversations. Did you hear? One soldier said quietly. A human saved our commander. Impossible. It's on the council records. The idea spread like fire. The commander used what little freedom he had. He spoke to guards, to aides, to anyone who would listen. I am not asking you to surrender, he told them. I am asking you to question. Some listened. Some walked away. But enough listened. Then the humans made their move. A message arrived, transmitted openly across neutral channels and Dominion space alike. It was not a threat. It was not a demand. It was an offer. A ceasefire. Temporary. To allow recovery of the wounded on both sides. The council was outraged. "It's a trick," they said. The commander spoke up from his guarded place. "They will honor it." "How can you be sure?" a counselor demanded. "Because I am alive," he replied. Against tradition, against instinct, the council agreed to a limited ceasefire. For the first time in decades, the guns fell silent. On shattered worlds, human medics treated Dominion wounded. They did not discriminate. Cameras recorded everything. Dominion citizens watched in disbelief as humans carried injured alien warriors, spoke softly to them, and shielded them from danger. The lie began to collapse. The commander watched the footage from his residence. He felt something close to relief. But not everyone was willing to change. A radical faction within the Dominion saw the ceasefire as betrayal. They plotted in secret, believing fear was the only path forward. They chose a target, the human, the one who stayed behind. The attack came without warning. A human diplomatic vessel stationed near neutral space was sabotaged. Alarms blared. Systems failed. The human who had saved the commander was on board. News reached the commander within minutes. His chest tightened. "This is my fault," he said. He demanded audience with the council. "They will use this to restart the war," he warned. "If that human dies, everything we've shown will be lost." The council hesitated. Pride warred with fear. "Let him die," one said. "It proves humans are no better." The commander stepped forward, despite the pain in his leg. "No," he said firmly. "It proves we are afraid." That struck harder than any accusation. In a narrow vote, the council allowed action. Dominion rescue ships launched. They crossed into neutral space under ceasefire banners, broadcasting their intent openly. Human forces detected them and held fire. The rescue was chaotic, dangerous. Dominion and human crews worked side by side, cutting through wreckage, pulling survivors free. The human was found alive but trapped, pinned by debris, just as the commander once had been. This time, it was Dominion hands that lifted the weight. When the human awoke in a medical bay, he saw an alien face beside him. "The commander. You came back," the human said weakly. "I stayed," the commander replied. The image of that moment spread across the galaxy. Human saved alien, alien saved human. The war could not survive that truth. Within weeks, formal talks began. Not secret, not hidden, open. The commander stood as the Dominion's voice, his support brace visible, his scars unhidden. "I was spared by an enemy," he told the galaxy, "and that mercy showed me a better path." Opposition remained. Anger did not vanish overnight, but the war was changing, and for the first time the Dominion faced a future not built only on fear, but on a choice. The same choice a single human had made on a dying moon: to stay. The galaxy seemed quieter now, though not in the way peace brings quiet. It was a fragile stillness, the kind that comes after storms, when the air is heavy with both relief and tension. The alien commander stood on the observation deck of a human diplomatic ship, looking at stars streaked with the trails of distant fleets. He still felt the pain in his leg, still remembered the weight of the collapsed beam, still heard the shouts of the battlefield on Karos. But now, for the first time, he felt something else. Purpose. The human who had stayed behind, his rescuer, his unexpected savior, entered the deck quietly, hands in pockets, unarmored, tired but steady. The commander turned to look at him. There was no need for words. They had spoken enough in those dark tunnels beneath Karos in the silent hours of recovery, in the courtrooms and chambers of the Dominion. Actions had carried their meaning far more than words ever could. Thinking about the front lines again? The human asked lightly. He did not sound teasing. It was calm, almost casual. But the commander noticed the concern beneath. I am thinking, the alien replied, about what comes next. The human nodded. That's good. The war isn't over, but we've started something. People are noticing. Change is slow, but it's happening. The alien commander turned back to the view. Below them, communication spread across Dominion systems, over neutral planets, across human fleets. The message was clear. Mercy was possible. Compassion was not weakness. A human had chosen to save an enemy, and an alien had chosen to speak the truth about it. Entire worlds were listening. He remembered the Council's reaction when the footage first went public, the murmurs of doubt, the fear that their understanding of humanity had been wrong, the anger of traditionalists. And yet, here he was, alive, free, scarred but stronger, an envoy for a truth that many would fight to deny. The knowledge weighed heavily on him, but it also gave him a strange strength he had never felt before. Have you ever wondered, the human said suddenly, what would have happened if I had left you back there? The commander's gaze shifted. He did not answer immediately. He thought of the collapsing tunnel, the heat of fear, the pain that had nearly consumed him. He thought of the alien soldiers who would have executed him without hesitation, the human ships lifting off without a backward glance. He could not imagine it. I would not be here, he said finally. I would not be alive, and neither would the truth. The human nodded. And I would have carried that choice for the rest of my life. The weight of letting someone die when I could help, it stays with you. They stood in silence for a long moment, letting the hum of the ship and the sparkle of distant stars fill the quiet. Then the commander spoke again. The Dominion will resist this truth. There will be those who call me traitor. Those who refuse to believe mercy can exist. Those who will seek to undo what has begun. Then we keep going, the human said firmly. One choice at a time. One act at a time. We've already started. And they had. The alien commander was not only alive, but now held a position unlike any his people had ever seen before. He traveled between Dominion worlds and human-controlled systems, speaking openly, honestly, and without fear. He described the mercy he had been shown, the courage of one human, the choice to stay despite danger. Across planets and stations, his testimony began to shift minds. Soldiers questioned orders. Citizens questioned propaganda. Leaders reconsidered strategies. Conversations that had once been forbidden now took place openly. Fear alone was no longer sufficient to control hearts and minds. The humans stayed nearby whenever he could, though they had duties and missions to attend to separately. But always, they reconnected, whether through messages, shared reports, or brief meetings in transit. In those moments, words were unnecessary. Their bond had been forged in fire, tested in pain, and solidified through mutual respect and trust. One evening, on a remote observation platform orbiting a neutral planet, the commander watched the sun rise over a strange world. The human approached, silent as always, standing beside him. You see that? The human asked. Worlds like that exist everywhere. Life keeps going, even after destruction. People keep choosing. The commander considered the planet's beauty. I have always fought for survival, he said. I thought power alone was enough. I was wrong. There is strength in choosing what is right, not what is easy. The human smiled faintly. That's the thing about humans. We choose. And sometimes that choice changes everything. The alien commander nodded slowly. You changed everything for me. Then we keep doing it, the human said. One act, one choice, one world at a time. Months passed. The war shifted from open combat to negotiation, from destruction to dialogue. Fleets no longer clashed recklessly. Borders once marked by conquest became meeting points for diplomacy. The story of the human who stayed behind became legendary, told across ships, stations, and alien settlements. It inspired soldiers on both sides to question the meaning of loyalty, honor, and courage. The alien commander's influence grew. He became a symbol of the possibility that enemies could act as allies, that mercy could be a weapon more powerful than any gun. And through it all, the human remained a constant reminder of the act that started it all, the choice to stay behind, to help, to protect. One day, the commander received a summons from the Dominion High Council, now divided between old radicals and new voices of reason. He entered the chamber carefully. The old banners of conquest still hung, but the tone had shifted. The counselors spoke with caution. They were wary, but curious. "I have seen what humanity can do," he said, addressing them with calm authority. "I have been spared by one. I have witnessed the truth of their choices. Mercy is not weakness. Compassion is not defeat. These truths do not diminish us. They make us stronger." The chamber was silent. Then, slowly, one by one, counselors nodded, some quietly, others reluctantly. But the change had begun. The alien commander stepped out into the sunlit plaza of the capital city, the human waiting nearby. Citizens and soldiers watched as the two moved among them, talking, walking, and sharing ideas. There were no chains, no fear, only the quiet respect that had taken months to build. Children pointed, soldiers whispered, citizens recorded messages on devices. Across the galaxy, the story spread further than any battle could. The tale of one human and one alien, surviving together, choosing each other over orders and fear, became a turning point. At night aboard their ship, the commander and the human sat side by side, looking out at the stars. "You could have stayed behind," the commander said softly. "And left you?" the human replied with a faint smile. "Not a chance." The commander shook his head, feeling the weight of gratitude and respect. "You saved me. And in doing so, you changed everything." The human's gaze was steady. "We saved each other," he said. "You just didn't know it yet." A quiet calm settled over them. The galaxy was still dangerous. Wars could erupt elsewhere. But for the first time, there was hope that one act of courage, one choice of mercy, could ripple farther than any weapon. That choice would be remembered in history, not as a weakness, but as humanity at its strongest. Years later, the alien commander returned to a rebuilt Karos, no longer a battlefield, but a memorial and a hub of diplomacy. Humans and Dominion citizens worked together there, learning from one another. Peace talks were ongoing, fragile but real. And the story of the human who stayed behind was told to every delegation, every class of students, every soldier learning what it meant to fight and what it meant to protect. The commander watched a human and a young Dominion cadet spar in the training yard, their movements careful, respectful, learning from one another. He smiled faintly. The future would be difficult, but it was no longer ruled solely by fear. At the edge of the observation deck, the human stood, leaning on the railing. The commander approached, matching his posture. "Think we'll ever get used to this?" the human asked. "Used to what?" "Seeing the galaxy change because of a choice," the human said. The commander looked at the stars, then at the human beside him. "No, and I do not wish to. Some things are too powerful to grow accustomed to." They stood together in silence, watching the light of countless stars. One human had chosen to stay behind. One alien had chosen to speak the truth. And together they had begun a change that would echo across the galaxy for generations. In every human system, in every Dominion world, and on every station that watched the story unfold, one truth became undeniable. Humans fight with strength, They survive with courage, and they rise even when mercy seems impossible. And it all began because one human refused to leave an enemy behind.